Hey yo, welcome to Clackbait. Today we'll be taking a look at the Hope75 by Faro Studio. This premium keyboard is currently in group buy and is being run by Velocifire, who sent this board out to me for review. They have several local vendors that are going to be offering the kit, so check Velocifire's Discord for all the information for your area. Now right off the bat, let me just say that this board is absolutely gorgeous, and it comes with a premium price of $359 for the standard kit and $449 for the premium kit, which comes with the PVD brass weight. So let's take a deep dive and see if it's worth the cold hard cash. Cue the music, let's start the build. Alright, so if you enjoy that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Enjoy the Clackbait family. So the Hope75 comes in two different configurations. The X with an exploded arrow and navigation cluster, and the S offers a compact layout tucking in the clusters. There's also two variations to these configurations. The standard kit comes with an aluminum weight in black, gold, or silver, and the premium comes in this hefty, gorgeous PVD brass weight available in both gold and silver. The unit I have for review is the X with the PVD brass weight. Yeah! So the kit comes with hot swap PCB that has QMK and VIA support with a bunch of flex cuts and ESD protection and two ribbon cable connectors, which I'll talk about more in a bit. A PC plate, plate foam, PCB PE foam, 2 layers of case foam, foot pads with magnetic stickers, pour-on for the fixed ribbon cable, pour-on light blocker, alignment gaskets for the top case, a screw pack, stabilizer washers, and all the gaskets. Everything is labeled really nicely, so you won't have any issues figuring out what goes to what. Now there are a ton of add-on options to personalize to your preference, and there's a ton of really banging color options that are too many to list here, so go check them out on the website. Now since the PCB is 1.2 millimeters thin, I do recommend that you find stabilizers that support 1.2 millimeter PCBs. However, you can still use standard PCBs, and they did include the shims in the kit, so it'll stop them from wobbling. The stabilizers that I use are the ones that Velocifire sent me to use for this review. Now the Hope75 is a screwless design with a bunch of screws. Yeah. Okay, so what does that mean? You won't see any visible screws anywhere on the board. However, there are internal screws inside the top case, beneath the weight, on the back case, a couple of screws for the RGB panel, and more screws under the foot pad of the weight, totaling a whole lot of screws. The case is machined beautifully with no visible issues with my proto, and the anno is really smooth. I particularly love this red wine colorway. It has this deep rich color, looks great under the lights, gives me that Iron Man vibe for sure. The PVD brass weight is gorgeous with the Hope75 logo centered, so if you got the scratch, go for the upgrade. The RGB strip is really bright and is diffused really nicely. The Hope logo by the arrow cluster looks pretty nice with a couple of RGB LEDs. The magnetic foot pads are a good touch since you need to remove the feet to unscrew the board, but at this current prototype stage, they are a bit weak. Velocifire has confirmed that the magnets will be stronger in the final version, so I look forward to seeing that. The USB port sits flush to the brass weight, so you will see a bit of the USB connector sticking out. You do have chamfered edges, completing the premium overall look and feel. I give this one high marks. I think you're getting what you pay for here. Now here's some quick specs on the case. The front height is about 20 millimeters, the typing angle is 6 degrees. The weight fully built is a hefty 6.6 pounds. Now the brass weight itself weighs a little bit over 3 pounds. Now the build process for the Hope75 is something I would categorize as an advanced level build. I'm not discouraging any first time buyer from picking this up, but this is definitely not as easy as other boards out there. But if you do follow the build guide, and please follow the build guide, you should be good to go. Now here's a quick breakdown of things you may want to know about the build. You're gonna need 3 different screw bits to open the board. Once you get in, install the gaskets to the plate using the guide that they provide, which is labeled to make it easy to place the correct sizes in the right place. The gaskets do come in various sizes. You can install them directly on the case if you choose to, and I do recommend doing that if you plan to swap plates frequently, or just make sure to purchase extra gaskets with the additional plates. There are a ton of gaskets installed, so doing it once is more than enough for a lifetime. They also include some alignment gaskets that go into the top case. That's a really nice touch. Gasket mount boards tend to need adjustment after installing the top case in order for the corner keys not to rub against the top of the frame. But with these gaskets, it takes the guesswork out and the plate aligns just right, so kudos to Faro Studios for that. Now I do recommend using some tweezers when installing the ribbon cables. Make sure they're seated properly before you put the case back together. A nice tug to ensure that they're connected would be the move for sure. Now here's some pros and cons. We'll start with the cons first. The first con would have to be the overall build process. This really reminded me of the Jelly Epoch with all the different screw bits and the Mammoth 75 with the internal screws. There are a lot of screws and a lot of parts to get into the case, and I totally understand that this is part of the screwless design language, but if you are the type to open up a board often to tinker, this may become a process that makes you question the meaning of life, or at least double think if doing a mod is worth the effort. Now, if taking your time and enjoying the process is your jam, you're gonna love this board. But I will say, after building this board several times, the process does get easier. The biggest issue I had was definitely the ribbon cables. There are 2 to install and they're really thin, and I found them tough to get in, ironically. Especially having to hold the heavy brass weight while doing it. If they do end up changing these JST cables, that will solve half of the woes with building this board. Now pros. Man, this board is absolutely gorgeous at every angle. It definitely has that 7V vibe. Definitely not a clone though, but I do see some inspiration from it. The fit and finish is really nice and they have a vast selection of color combinations. I really love the look of the PVD brass weight. It gives a very high-end look and it adds to the heft of the board. The RGB strip on the back is bright and lights up the desk in front of your board and adds some uniqueness to your desk setup. The typing feel is nice and soft. Since the board is full of foam, there's not a lot of flex here, but it does have a really pleasant amount of bounce when you type, more than the Jelly Epoch, less than Mammoth 75, and I think it's just the right balance for my preference. The sound of the board is lively and something you can expect with a board designed around the use of foam. Without foam, the board sounds rather thin, but you can definitely use this without the PE foams and still use the plate foam and case foam, and it'll sound really pleasant. The PCB, flex cuts, plates, gaskets, all were designed to be used with the foams in order to optimize the typing feel and the sound, so keep that in mind. Me personally, I love the sound and feel, and the options for different foams to get different sound and signatures is a nice touch. For me, the standard PE foam was still my favorite, which gives it that marbly sound that everyone loves. The EVA is a cool option if you want to tone down that marbly sound, but for me, I'll go with the full marble sound or no sheet at all on the PCB. I used the goated Clack Monster SP Star Meteor Whites in the first build with the EVA foam, and the second build I used the PE foam just to compare. And for the second build, I used red jackets, which are a long pole switch with PE foam. There's a bit of hollowness around the mods with just one layer of case foam, but it's very slight. But using both layers obviously takes care of that, and it gives the board a fuller sound. So that's all I got for you today. Do I recommend this board? This board is definitely one of the nicest looking boards to hit my desk, and something I would gladly recommend picking up if you can handle the build process, it falls into your budget, and you dig the looks. I think Faro Studio and Velocifire did a great job with this one. If you can stretch the budget, go for the PVD brass weight. It looks awesome and gives the heft you want in a premium board. So I got a lot more heat coming your way. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content. Enjoy the typing test. Catch you in the next one. Peace.